Making headlines first at 9. Raking it in, Sri Lankan foreign reserves expected to further stabilize.
We have to maintain discipline, particularly on the fiscal side, and there has to be good monetary fiscal coordination.
Road to clean politics. President Maithripala Sirisena rejects party politics and family ties in efforts to inculcate a pure political culture. New Minister Piyasena Gamage takes oath as the State Minister of Law and Order and Southern Development. In news overseas, the Russian tangle. Kremlin critic Navalny calls for a boycott of next year's presidential election. In sports, assistants of the old guard. Will Chandika Hatrusinghe seek the input of former greats? Bringing you news from across Sri Lanka and around the world on Other Derana 24/7. First at 9, I'm Indivari Amwat. We take a look at your top story on the run-up to the local government elections. The chairman of the Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, held discussions with all district secretaries to bring them up to speed on new election rules. It was held at the Election Secretariat in Rajagiriya this morning.
Following the meeting with the Elections Commissioner Mahinda Deshapriya today, the returning officers said that more attention was given to the new election rules. In the meantime, Deputy Chairman of the United People's Front, former parliamentarian Somavira Chandrasiri, who worked with the joint opposition, met the President today and pledged his allegiance. In addition, a Politburo member of the National Freedom Front, Nimal Premavansa, as well as several regional activists of the United National Party also pledged their support to the SLFP in the looming local government election. In the meantime, Ududumbura police arrested former chairman of the Ududumbura Pradeshiya Sabha and 3 others while sticking election propaganda posters in the Kalutana area around 3:30 this morning. The Teldiniya Magistrates Court released the 4 suspects this afternoon on 2 sureties of 50,000 rupees each. The cab, which was taken into custody, was released on a bond worth 6 million rupees. In the meantime, 2 individuals who were preparing to distribute school stationery through a foundation operated under the name of a contestant for Anuradhapura Municipal Council from the United National Party were arrested. In the meantime, members of the organisation Maubima Venuin Ranaviruvo lodged a complaint at the Election Commission today, stating the government is bribing members of the army under the guise of waiving their state housing loans.
Meanwhile, former Deputy Minister of Home Affairs Nimal Lansa says that he left the government because he did not agree with the sale of state property. He made this remark at a media briefing today.
The government agreed to fulfill several promises. The creation of 1 million jobs, providing each family a home, free Wi-Fi in villages and ridding poverty. If you look at the work that has been done in the past 2 years, none of these have been accomplished. We will not be able to mitigate the loss incurred due to the bond issue in this lifetime. The sale of our ports, the Mattala airport and other state assets is not the principle of the SLFP. But since we have a national government, we will have to agree to all their principles, and I cannot do that. That is why I left.
In the meantime, various views were expressed on the political stage ahead of the upcoming election.
One party made money out of the central bank. The same applies to several other parties as well. Those who stole from the country are now planning to steal from the villages as well. The report on the bond issue is to be released on the 30th of this month. If this report is not released, then we will have no choice but to suspect that the delay was owing to political pressure. Mahinda Rajapaksa became president because of the SLFP. Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga became president also because of the SLFP. Maithripala Sirisena would not have become a common candidate if he was not the General Secretary of the party. Otherwise, they would have selected me. The party of the former president and the party in which Minister Amaravira is a part of consists of rogues. The people have a lot of faith in Ranil Wickremesinghe's party and Sajith Premadasa. We could have joined the government to obtain ministerial posts, vehicles and give jobs by selling our soul. But we're not used to this.
In the meantime, election monitoring body, the Campaign for Free and Fair Elections, says they received numerous complaints on election-related incidents. Speaking to First at 9, its executive director and advisor to the anti-corruption front, Kirti Tennakoon, said that over 90 complaints were lodged pertaining to abuse of state property and election violence thus far. Touching on the 25% female representation made compulsory for local government elections, Tennakoon said that they have received reports of defamation among female candidates, which he highlights as a cause of concern.
This is the election which is having most number of female candidates contesting for a local council election, and special focus was on the female candidates because they were continuously during the preferential voting times and the previous election systems, they were marginalized. Especially they are complaining of character assassination, and this is political communication strategy to defeat these female candidates. So one has to look into this particular aspect very positively and work on a formula where we can ensure that 25% of the females are coming into the system. It's up to the average voters to select and vote for the female candidates.
The executive director of the election monitoring body, CAFE, also said they would welcome the newly introduced mixed electoral system.
The multiple choices, it was divided with the main 2 or 3 political parties. So with this particular system, we can hope that more and more political parties and the independent groups will be represented the upcoming local council elections, which will be a very good sign with the diversity factor.
Meanwhile, issuing a communique today, People's Action for Free and Fair Elections stated that following the announcement of the local government elections, they received a report of the transfer of 2 officers from the Civil Security Department. Major Varnakula Surya, in charge of the Force Headquarters of Ampara District, and Lieutenant Tennakoon, in charge of the Uhana Force Headquarters, were subjected to the transfer.
We have reported Ampara District, the Civil Defence Force, there are 2 officers were transferred the last week, and we have written to the Director General, Mr. Pallegama, asking the reverse the transfer because we have realized that these 2 officers were the postal voting authorized officer in the civil defence forces in Ampara and Uhana area. So we believe we have written to the director as well as we have written to the Secretary of Defence, and also we copied to the Election Commission. So we believe that the authority will reverse this transfer because this is the election period.
President Maithripala Sirisena rejects party politics and family affiliations in attempts to inculcate a clean political culture in the country. The head of state expressed these views on the subject while addressing the occasion, which saw the public launch of the Pledge for Freedom today with the participation of political parties allied to the United People's Freedom Alliance.
The event to declare the Pledge for Freedom was held at the BMICH under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena, with 31 political parties affiliated to the United People's Freedom Alliance. The Pledge for Freedom, for good governance free of fraud and corruption, was presented to the Mahasangha, including other religious leaders, by the President. The representatives of political parties that contest from the United People's Freedom Alliance and activists of civil organizations that contest with the party pledged before the President to execute a clean governance sans corruption or fraud during the upcoming polls and afterwards.
The United People's Freedom Alliance, led by the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and other parties that are with us, should carry out an exemplary election campaign without breaching election rules while fully complying with them. That exemplary election campaign will be the first message given to the people on how we rule when we come to power. What I have to say is that we won't consider which party or whose relative it is. Even if it's a member of my own family, I will take action against anyone if I have to.
In the meantime, Piyasena Gamage took oath as the State Minister of Law and Order and Southern Development before the President today. He earlier replaced Geeta Kumarasinghe, who lost her parliamentary seat due to her dual citizenship in Parliament.
Minister of Special Assignment Dr. Sarath Amunugama calls for statistics to be made an element in decision and policy-making process of the country. He was speaking at this year's International Statistics Conference themed Statistics for Good Governance in Colombo today.
It is very difficult to think of developing a country. We will have opened up a huge gap between the developing countries, developing private sector, which will have the advantage of more information. Are we training our people to use that modern technology? Are we giving an opportunity to our young people, many of them who are here, to move to the latest technologies that are freely available? As a cabinet member, I don't think I am revealing many secrets if I say that statistics is not high on its agenda. It should be.
And the Department of Examinations released the results of the GCE Advanced Level Examination this morning. 3 of the top rankers from the 7 streams come from the southern province, from which Sujatha Vidyalaya in Mathura has produced 2 of them.
Results of the GCE Advanced Level Examination was released this morning, and the candidates can check their results by logging into www.doenets.lk. 315,227 applicants sat for this year's Advanced Level Examination. Accordingly, Dilini Sandunika from Sujatha Vidyalaya Mathura emerged as the island's first in the stream of Bioscience. Hasita Geet Gunasinghe of Joseph Vaz College, Vinnapur emerged second, while Ishan Shaluka Ramanayaka of Anand College, Colombo came in third. In the commerce stream, Dulani Rasantika, also a student of Sujatha Vidyalaya in Mathura, claimed the island's top spot. Kaushalya Subhashini of the Museus College, Colombo came in second, while third-placed Fatima Akila Iswar is from the St. Paul's Girls' School in Colombo. Meanwhile, Sridharan Dwarakan of Hartley College, Jaffna, topped the island from the Physical Science stream. Pramudita Himant Somaratna of Bandaranayaka College, Gampaha came in second, followed by Jayarajan Paul Jansen of St. Patrick's College, Jaffna in third. The island topper from the arts stream is Venerable Padberiye Munindavanshathera from the Saddharma Alankara Pirivena in Ratnapura. Second place was secured by Saheli Archana Vikramanayaka of Ladies College, Colombo, while the third place went to Dilki Sandupama of Ferguson High School in Ratnapura. First place from the technological stream was won by Parami Prasadi Ransirini of Mahinda Rajapaksa College in Mathura. Lakshita Chaturanga of Sivali Madhya Mahavidyalaya in Ratnapura came in first from the stream of Biosystems Technology. Hiruni Shakya Abetunga from Devi Balika Vidyalaya in Colombo secured the island's top spot in common and other streams. From the 315,227 candidates who sat for the advanced level examination in this year, 163,104 are selected for the universities. The results of 205 candidates, however, has been suspended. Meanwhile, the deadline to apply for recorrections is set for the 15th of January.
Former Minister of Justice Vijayadasa Rajapaksa has resigned from the Constitutional Council and has handed over his resignation letter to President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today. We take a look at a few other stories making news across Sri Lanka now.
An individual was arrested for killing a samba deer within the Bopat Talava Reserve in Agarapathana, Hatton. Police arrested him while seeking venison at his residence and seized 40 kilos of it found in his possession. 10 animals kept for public display at a carnival in Madigemidiyala in Variapola was rescued by wildlife officials of Nikavaratia. 3 suspects involved in the incident was apprehended by the police. A python, tortoises, giant squirrels, wildcats, a parrot and an iguana were among the rescued animals. The farmers of Ulpotagama in Hasalaka claim that officials of the Agrarian Services Centre has not provided them with enough fertilizer. Inter-University Students' Federation organised a protest against illegal selling of school textbooks in the market. The protest was held in front of the Ministry of Education today.
Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, says Sri Lanka's foreign reserves are expected to stabilize at $7.8 billion by the end of the year and is on course for further increase. However, Dr. Kumaraswamy cautioned that fiscal discipline is pivotal to maintain the current stability in the country. The Central Bank governor spoke today at the media briefing to disclose the monetary policy review for the next month.
The Monetary Board of the Central Bank decided to maintain its key interest rates at their current levels, considering recent macroeconomic developments. Thereby, standing deposit facility rate will remain 7.25% and standing lending facility rate will be maintained at 8.75%. Responding to journalists on the recent controversy surrounding the delays in releasing funds of the first tranche of the Hambantota port lease agreement, the governor gave clarification saying that it was due procedure.
The money was paid by the China Merchant Company to the Sri Lanka Ports Authority because the asset belonged to the Ports Authority. The Ports Authority then had to transfer the money to the government because the government was going to assume that debt for that asset. So the money went from Chinese company to a Bank of Ceylon account belonging to the Ports Authority, and then on the instructions of the Treasury, it came to a Deputy Secretary Treasury account in the Central Bank. So now the money is in the Central Bank.
Moody's had warned that after the receipts from Hambantota end by the mid of next year, it will be very challenging to build up foreign reserves, that it may not go above $7.5 billion. I think that's quite accurate.
Will you buy me a meal if it gets to 10 billion next year? This year, we are buying roughly $200 million a month at the moment. So that is $2.4 billion. On top of that, we're planning to go out and raise money from international capital markets. And if FDI picks up in the way we hope it will, and now I think we can move from hope to expect. I think it's fair to say that in the way we expect it will, then I don't see any difficulty. I think Moody's concerns are misplaced, in my view.
Just to add, the statement has already, they lost credibility. Already we have 7.8 billion. Even before we getting the balance part of Hambantota money, if they say if that comes in, obviously it has to be much higher.
If we keep this stabilization on track, there won't be any issue. But of course, we have to maintain discipline, particularly on the fiscal side, and there has to be good monetary fiscal coordination.
Speaking on the troubled non-bank financial institute Central Investments and Finance PLC, the governor dismissed recent reports and claimed that Central Bank had taken an arbitrary decision.
Now, I'm reacting very badly, to be honest, because it's an extremely unfortunate story. Let me say on the accounting. The Central Bank conducted a forensic account, which is what has been called for, way back in September 2013. And the findings of that forensic account have been shared with the Attorney General's Department and the CID. So I don't know who in the Central Bank is trying to hide things. Not only that, there was a letter, they're saying that there were people who were guilty of all kinds of misdemeanors and the Central Bank has done nothing about that. There was a letter sent to the Attorney General's Department requesting legal action to be taken against errant parties on the 16th of April 2014. Several letters have been written to the AG's department since then. 4 letters have been sent to the CID, the first one in December 2012. Now, a case has been filed against one party, which has been mentioned in that news report. In fact, on the basis of the Central Bank's information, the CID issued a red notice, an Interpol red notice, and that person was brought back to Sri Lanka and he was arrested. But the courts have given him bail. So, I don't know what else the Central Bank could have done. That report also said that we are ignoring investors. So the easiest thing for us is if an investor came and rescued these companies. Unfortunately, there is no credible investor who has come. There was an investor who came who issued a fraudulent bearer bond. Secondly, that party also there's a case about fraudulent activity ongoing. So all we are saying is, 1, have proof of funds. 2, the investor, the money must come cleanly, bank to bank. That is all we want. Our life will be so much easier. We haven't liquidated, we have issued notice of liquidation. They have 30 days to respond, but we can't let this thing drag on forever and ever. I get letters all the time of elderly people for whom even the 600,000 whom we offer will be a large amount of money. If we pay 600,000 to the depositors, 61% of the depositors in CIFL will be paid off in full. A further 14%, 15% will get 60% of their money. So those are all investments below 1 million. In our view, that is the just thing to do.
China recently issued new rules which increases oversight of overseas acquisitions by its companies as a measure to stem the tidal wave of capital that has flown out of the country in recent years. Regulators of the Chinese government fear that the current trend continues it would threaten financial stability in the country. The new rules seeks to reduce investment in assets ranging from golf courses and move studios to football clubs. Furthermore, the new regulation issued by the National Development and Reform Commission requires all outbound investments by Chinese firms and their overseas subsidiaries to be registered through a new online system, whilst it cancels a previous requirement for Chinese investors to report plans for any acquisitions or bids over $300 million. The new rules broaden supervision of foreign investments made by overseas subsidiaries of Chinese companies. Moreover, the new rules aim to improve full supervision over overseas investment and promote sustained healthy development of overseas investments. Well, Sri Lankan shares edged higher today in their fifth straight gaining session to a fresh three-week closing high as the central bank held key policy rates steady. The all-share price index ended 0.08% firmer at 6,364.34, its highest since the 8th of December. Let's cross over to Imeshu Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange for a detailed report.
The turnover was 220.99 million rupees with 5.51 million shares changing hands in 2,368 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,897.04 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 150.94 million rupees and foreign sales were 52.74 million rupees. There was one crossing today and the crossing turnover was 47.25 million rupees.
And the Sri Lankan rupee closed lower as demand for the dollar from importers and banks outweighed inward remittances and conversion of the US currency by exporters. The spot rupee, which traded at 152 rupees and 30 cents to 40 cents during the day, ended at 153 rupees and 50 to 70 cents per dollar, a move of 0.8% compared with yesterday's close of 152 rupees and 45 to 55 cents. Here's a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies around the world today. In news overseas, Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny says that he is organizing a nationwide rally on the 28th of January to support his call for a boycott of next year's presidential election, and that event would be a more important, significant political process than the election itself. Russia's Central Election Commission voted on Monday to bar Navalny from running in the election, saying he was ineligible because of a past criminal conviction.
During a radio interview yesterday, Navalny said he was going to persuade the citizens of Russia not to take part in the presidential election on the 18th of March and instead to come out to the streets. Polls show President Vladimir Putin is on course to be comfortably re-elected, meaning he could remain in power until 2024. Navalny has been jailed 3 times this year and charged with breaking the law by repeatedly organizing public meetings and rallies. Meanwhile, a blast ripped through a supermarket in Russia's St. Petersburg last evening, injuring at least 10 shoppers. Investigators said the explosion was caused by a homemade bomb packed with pieces of metal with a force equivalent to 200 grams of TNT. The motive behind the blast remains unclear.
Taiwan expressed its concern over China's frequent military activities, saying it is causing regional instability. China has taken an increasingly hostile stance towards Taiwan since President Tsai Ing-wen from the island's pro-independence Democratic Progressive Party won presidential elections last year. Beijing suspects her of pushing for the island's formal independence, which China considers to be a red line.
Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen said today that the island's forces have been keeping a close eye on what China is up to. The country's defense ministry said this week that China's Air Force carried out 16 rounds of exercises close to Taiwan in the past year or so, warning that China's military threat was growing by the day. Beijing has said repeatedly that its drills are routine and not aimed at any third party.
Here's a look at other stories from around the world in brief.
Floods triggered by tropical storm Tembin killed 49 people and left 23 others missing in Salvador in the Philippines as of Tuesday. Tropical storm Tembin began hitting parts of Mindanao in the southern Philippines last Friday and triggered massive flash flooding and mudslides, leaving more than 300 people dead or missing and 70,000 people homeless. Hundreds of passengers were stranded at London's Stansted Airport yesterday after snowfall and ice caused travel disruptions across the country. Stansted Airport said it had to temporarily close its runway on Wednesday while its staff cleared the airfield due to adverse weather. An Asian elephant gave birth on Christmas Day in full view of everyone, giving the best possible Christmas gift for the Plankendale Zoo's team of caretakers in Belgium. Prior to the female baby's birth, the zoo was already home to 1 male and 7 female elephants, and there might be more good news to come, with 2 other elephants also pregnant. A grand magnolia tree on the south lawn of the White House that was planted by President Andrew Jackson in the 1880s was cut back yesterday following decades of effort to hold up the historic but decaying tree. The so-called Jackson magnolia stands just outside South Portico and is witness to some 2 centuries of White House history.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
In sports, new head coach of the national cricket team, Chandika Hathurusinha, expects to enlist the expertise of former cricketing greats Kumar Sangakkara, Mahela Jayawardene and Muthaiya Muralidharan. He made this remark in response to a question raised by journalists at the practice session held at our Premadasa Stadium today.
I would not be using this opportunity that I've been given properly if I did not seek the expertise and the skills of the likes of Sangakkara, Mahela and Muralidharan.
We were really focusing on our basics and giving them freedom to express themselves. So that's what we were doing. So we continue to do that for next 2 days. If we don't know what we're doing, we are not going to improve. We need to do things consciously and take something out of every session. I'm pretty confident that we can do better, and there's a lot of talent in this squad. I'm 100% sure that we are going to get better.
And Sri Lanka Cricket yesterday announced its squad for the Under-19 Cricket World Cup set to get underway in New Zealand for the 6th of January, from the 6th of January to the 4th of February next year. Kamindu Mendes from the Richmond College will lead the side in the tournament.
Jahan Daniel from St. Joseph's College will assist Kamindu Mendes as his deputy. The team is expected to leave the country on the 1st of January for the tournament, which sees the participation of 16 nations. Sri Lanka is placed in the Group D with Ireland drawn as their first opponents on the 14th of January.
We have good batsmen in our team. We faced a drawback in the Pakistan match. Even if we have shortcomings, we can correct them and move ahead.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
England's opening batsman and former captain Alastair Cook batted the entire day and held his end at the close of play on the 3rd day of the 4th Ashes Test. With the visitors finding themselves on a commanding position for the first time in the series, they are on 491 for the loss of 9 wickets, with the chance of Cook carrying his bat through the first innings.
England started the day on 192 for 2 with Cook on 104 and skipper Joe Root unbeaten on 49.
50, well played.
Root brought up his 50 and then perished, giving hope for the Australian bowlers of knocking the visitors over cheaply. Cook, who was hopelessly out of touch throughout the series, looked in imperious form and continued on his merry way. Despite wickets falling around him, Cook brought up his 150 and then the double hundreds.
From Alastair Cook. A glorious stroke to get there. That is one strong mind. And one
England's tail also bagged for the first time in the series as Stuart Broad played a cameo innings of 56 in just 63 deliveries. The result was England ending the day on 491 for the loss of 9 wickets, with Cook on 244, boasting a 164-run lead over the Aussies. Tomorrow is the 4th day of the match and some pundits have called for a declaration to the innings.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
Good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Now, temperatures are to vary between 18 and 31 degrees Celsius over the course of the next 24 hours. Now, if you take a look at the map, you can see that there will be an overall favourable weather condition over the next 24 hours with some sunny weather expected in most parts of the northern region of the island, especially in areas of Vauna and Batticaloa. You can see some patches of cloud and you can expect some thunder showers in Galle and Mathare areas, but some sunny weather or warm weather is expected in Colombo and Kandy.
That's all for us tonight, but before you go, you can take a look at the visuals that we have for you tonight. We take you to the ancient city of Mihintale. A special Pindapata or Buddhist almsgiving ceremony for 1,500 members of the clergy was organized yesterday at the Mihintale Raja Mahavihara temple. It was organized by a delegation from Taiwan. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.